Hello students, today our topic is Michel Foucault and we will discuss about his three main concepts. Those are discourse, power and knowledge and history of sexuality. We all know that Michel Foucault has undergone um, a treatment for mental illness and also he is a homosexual one. So let's start with discourse. What is discourse? In simple term, we can say that discourse is a kind of discussion which has certain rules and regulations. But it can also be explained as an institutionalized way of talking and writing about reality. Through discourse, we are learned that what should be thought and what should be written about something or a reality. It is a way of thinking which is imposed indirectly into the minds of people by certain institutions. For example, a child learns his first lessons of moral from his parents. From our mother or father, we comes to know that what we have to eat and what we should not eat, and what all we have to spoke with others, and what we should do and what we should not. These are the simple basic lessons which we learned from our parents. So this is the first institution, and later on in the schools and colleges we are taught by our teachers that what we have to do in our everyday life. Discourse can be changed according to changes in time. Here a person is influenced by the teachings of a religious person or teachings of a politician. So all these are discourses. We and these religion, politics, teaching institutions, all are institutions which impose their ideology indirectly into our mind. So it can be called as an exercise of discourse. So this discourse can be changed according to changes in time. Through discourse, people unconsciously learning certain rules and regulations of living. For example, a priest tells or a father in a church tells us that we have to do or live according to the rules of our religion. So that's also a discourse, and we are we are ready to live accordingly. But this discourse or this way of thinking may change by the change of time. For example, before 1947, we Indians or Indian parents preferred girls only schools for their uh, girl children. But now times changed tremendously, and now we prefer co-education also. This is a change of discourse. Foucault says that schools and hospitals are acts as discourse of control. There are certain institutions or sources of control which controls the everyday activities of persons. These are in the words of Foucault, these are schools and hospitals, because in schools students have to obey the orders of the teacher. So that is a discourse of controlling. And in hospitals, patients have to obey the doctor. That's why Foucault says that schools and hospitals are acting as discourse of control. Now, another concept is power and knowledge. Foucault has given the most famous concept of circulation of power, and this is very important in the NET exams. According to Foucault, both power and knowledge are interlinked. He says that if a person has knowledge for something, he can exercise his power over others. For example, a priest in a temple is giving orders to his follow, followers that they have to take uh, they should not eat for a whole day, or they have to take fasting for a whole day, etc., etc. Thus, in that way, a priest is exercising his power over those followers. He is able to do this because of his knowledge of religion. One can exercise and expand his power through knowledge. This happens in all fields like religion, education, government, missionaries, etc. In the educational field, a person is guiding many students because of his knowledge of teaching. That's why he became a teacher now, and he is exercising his power over the students. This is the circulation of power. This is the interlinked relation between knowledge and power. Through the use of knowledge, one can exercise his power upon others. Power is functioning, thus, power is a functioning use of knowledge, and we can build knowledge through the exercise of power. This is what Foucault has given definition for the interlinked relation between power and knowledge. According to Foucault said that power circulation is everywhere. We can see this in schools, hospitals, technical ensembles, etc. This is the exact sentence of Michel Foucault about the circulation of power. Here we can say that this circulation of power is in our family also, because in Indian houses, the father would be the head of the family, and he is exercising his power over his wife and his children. And wife and children they have to obey him, because he is the head, and all the three others are obey the all the three others are depending upon him. So there is also an expansion of power. Okay, in every aspect of society there is the presence of power. Power is exercised by certain rules, regulations, and control. We can say that in every level of society there is this power circulation, like when we are in hospitals, we have to uh, obey the doctors and nurses and the staff there, because they have that knowledge of medical science. Before them, we patients are inferior and they are superior. And this is what Foucault says, calls us medical gaze. This is a very important term propounded by Michel Foucault, that is medical gaze. And the person who is being gazed or watched is inferior, and the person who is watching is superior. Sometimes this power and knowledge liberate the society, and sometimes it makes certain problems in society. For example, there is this discourse of power gives certain restrictions also. Before 1947 or 47 or our independence, in Indian society there were lots of restrictions over the over women for their education and working. But now things have changed a lot. So this excess of power or those the discourses can be changed according to the changes of time. Next is history of sexuality. History of Sexuality is another important book of Michel Foucault, in which he examined the history of sexuality of people, the difference between this attitude towards sexuality in the early period and modern days. In the early period, sex is considered only as a measure for reproduction, and sex without the purpose of reproduction, or with the purpose of or with the aim of enjoyment, is considered as a very bad thing. In the work History of Sexuality, Foucault gives his impression on how the discourse of sexuality was used as an act of repression against certain sections of people. Here he is examining the changes towards the attitude of sexuality of people from early period to nowadays, and how this sexuality or the discourse of sexuality was used to restrict or give or repress or give punishment to certain groups of or sections of people. He concerned or he made experiments regarding four sections of people in the early period and how they were affected by this uh, discourse of sexuality or this restrictions over sexuality. He was concerned about the sexuality of women, children, married couple, and perverted women. There are four strategic unities by which the exercise of power and knowledge happened on sexuality. As I already told, there is a circulation of power, and this happened in the field of sexuality also. They have in the early period they have made certain restrictions over children, women, married couple, and homosexual people, to that they should live according to the rules of society. They should not go against the rules of society. For that purpose they have made some control over these people, like children were monitored against masturbation, and women's body was saturated with sexuality, and so women must be kept within the context of family. This is a very age old thinking of society, that women should not be allowed to live alone. She has to be married off to someone, otherwise she will go in a perverted way. So she must be married to someone and kept within the boundaries of family. Another restriction for sexuality in the olden period was married couple should have sex with within the space of bedroom and at certain times with the only aim of reproduction. That the early period, even the married couple should have sex only for reproduction. They should have children. That for that purpose only they have to mate with each other. Mating without that purpose, or mating with the purpose of enjoyment is was strictly restricted at that time. And also married couple within a particular age and in a particular time only they have to make sex. These were the restrictions imposed upon married couple. Then desires for the same sex or homosexuality was considered a big crime and perversion. This is an important point, and at this point Foucault is giving possibilities for queer theory. Foucault is very pathetic towards all those people who are deviated, or those have a different taste for sex, that is homosexuals. But in the early period, desires for the same sex, or if one is interested in his own sex, or he is homosexual or a lesbian or something like that, they were considered as a very big, cheap, perverted ones in the early period. And they were marginalized, or they were called as other. Through the discourse of, or through the exercise of power, certain sections of society were considered as other, or cheap, or something bad. Sexuality is located within the discourse of power. So again Foucault says that sexuality is also under the control of the discourse of power. A person was watched and controlled by society on the basis of their sexuality. Those who deviate from the normal way of sex were considered as other and were marginalized. That's what I earlier explained, that there were certain they were made certain restrictions or control over groups of people like children, married couple, and women and lesbians. And those and a person and those who deviate from the rules of society were considered as other. When certain section of people deviate from the normal way of sex, they were called as perverted. Thus, a section of people were marginalized in the name of their sexuality. In modern days, these people are called as queer community. As Foucault is also a homosexual, and he says that in the early period, those who are deviated from the rules of society were called perverted, and they were made to they were marginalized or deviated from the main path of society. They were considered as they were considered as other. And these people were tortured and controlled and monitored by the society. And at many times those homosexuals were severely beaten up by many people. And and thus certain groups are given the name of other because they deviate from the norm. And these groups, certain restricted groups, were sick persons, insane persons, and homosexual persons. Thank you. And in the next class I will give explanations for other concepts of Michel Foucault. Thank you.